So you work. So talk to me. Before you was boxing something you always wanted to do, or was how did you get an introduction to the sport?
It's crazy. Of course, my dad. Well, not of course, but my dad started me when I was young. Like when I was like, he used to tell me when I was young, like 3. I used to get in the bed with him, and I used to always put his hand up, hold his hand up like this, and I used to hit it. So he said I kept doing it every night before I had to go to bed to go to sleep, go to school in the morning. So he said, when I turned 5, he just decided to take me to the gym, and he took me to the gym. And a young kid not knowing what's going on is kind of fascinated with the bags and all that. I used to hit the bags and go do like a 2-minute spurt, then go sit down, get up, go get some juice, get some water, come back. So I did that for a couple years. Then I think about like I'm gonna say like around 10 or 11, he actually put me into my first competition. I don't really know how it was. I didn't really uh, start fighting that I know of competing till I was like 13 or 14. And then they put me in the Pennsylvania Golden Gloves and all that. When I first fought in the Pennsylvania Golden Gloves, I think I was 16. I made it all the way to the States. Then the following year, I said I was going to come back and I was going to win it all. That year, I came back. I think that the first year I fought was like 96. No, hold on, let me see. My fault. Like 86, 87, somewhere around there. Then 89 was my second year in Pennsylvania Golden Gloves. I made it all the way to the Pennsylvania Golden Gloves, to the Nationals, which was in if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Knoxville, Tennessee. Um, that's the first year that I met Mark Johnson, Sean Bay Mitchell. I met all those guys. I made it to the finals in the Golden Gloves the first year. I lost to Emmett Linton from Tacoma, Washington. He had won it the year before that. And when I lost to him, it really hurt me real bad. I cried and everything. And he told me, he said, "Man, don't worry about it." He said, "Man, you're a good fighter. You come back the next year and you're gonna do good." So the next year I went back, but eventually I ran into a foe of mine that I would go on for many years to have a crash with and become teammates with, which was Oscar De La Hoya. I fought him in the finals that year, lost to him. And then after that, I decided to go open. I went open. The next year, we fought in. I didn't go to the Golden Gloves. I said, forget the Golden Gloves. I fought in the USA Championships. I fought Oscar in the finals again. Everybody thought I beat him, but he won. So it was just ironic that we messed around and we fought in the U.S. Nationals. That the following year was the year of the Pan American. Well, I'm not gonna really say the Pan American Games, but it was the World Games. And of course, again, I met Oscar, and I lost to him. I lost to him again, but you know, he was a golden boy. It was nothing really I could do. He made me kind of mad because that was the second time I lost to him, and he had said to the reporters and I guess to the world that he didn't understand why a kid would stay in the same weight division and lose to a kid twice and not move up. And I told him when I lost on the second time, I said, I don't know what it is. I said, I hear they call you the golden boy or whatever, but eventually I got your number and that's why we keep fighting. And I told him the next time I fight him, I was going to knock him out. We happened to fight in, what was it? The Goodwill Games. That was nationally wide. That was in Vegas when Vegas first opened the, what's that arena? What's that? Mandalay Bay. That's when they first opened the Mandalay Bay, and I fought down there. I met Ray Leonard, I met Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, Tommy Hearns, George Foreman. I met all those guys down there that night. And me and Oscar were it was the runner up and the champion. Oscar was the champion. I was the runner up from USA. It was two Cubans. No, my fault. It was one Cuban and two Russians. He fought. I can't remember who he fought that night, but I messed around and I fought the number 2 Russian. I beat him. Oscar beat, I think, somebody from Korea or something. So that made me and Oscar fight again in the finals. 2 Americans, first time it ever happened. 2 Americans fighting for the Goodwill Games to go see who was going to represent USA in Goodwill Games. Of course, again, I lost to him again. But with that loss right there, I think it really catapulted me to everybody knowing who I was and what I could do. And that if Oscar was going to compete for that 125-pound weight category going to the Olympics, he was going, excuse my expression, he was going to catch hell. So what happened, and it's crazy, after we fought and he beat me, he moved up in weight. He moved up to 132. So it pretty much gave me a lane, like 125 pounds was mine, because I had beat the Cuban. No, my fault. I lost to the Cuban, but the Cuban ran from me. So everybody knew that it was going to really be a big fight if we ever fought again. And I felt as though we was going to fight in the Olympics. I knocked out the Korean. I beat the Russian. Who else did I beat? The German. I knocked the German out. So it was really nobody in that weight category who would have really gave me too much trouble at 125 pounds worldwide. So what happened? Oscar moved up to 32. I moved up. I stayed at 125. Oscar was telling everybody it was hard for him to make 125. That's why he moved up to 32. But honestly, excuse my expression, Oscar didn't want to take no more ass whooping. Even though he was getting a decision, he was getting his ass whooped. But you know, it was a great combination, man. It was supposed to be 3 Olympics. I mean, 3 gold medals in '92. It was supposed to have been Eric Griffin, who got beat. I think he got beat his first night. I'm not sure, because I didn't. What happened was, when we fought for the Eastern Olympic trials to go to the Olympics, I lost to a guy named Julian Wheeler, which a lot of people didn't think that I lost to him. A lot of people thought I beat him. I thought I beat him too, but I never understood how he got the decision over me. But he did. So he went on to go out to the Olympics. And what was crazy about it, he lost to the Russian that I knocked out. So that tells you right then and there what would have happened. But it was supposed to be Eric Griffin at 106, me at 125, and Oscar at 132. It was supposed to have been 3 gold medals. But I lost in the U.S. championships. I mean, in Olympic trials and box offs to the kid Julian Wheeler. Eric Griffin went to win it, but he lost out in Olympics. I never got a chance to go. Oscar De La Hoya was the only one to win a gold medal. My man Chris Bird, he either won a silver or a bronze, but I think he was one of the ones that went pretty high. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he won a silver. So with that saying, I was the Olympic alternate at 125, and I wasn't going. I was just mad. They was trying to get me to go. They said it was going to be a good trip. They thought it would be a good experience for me, but I didn't want to do it. I mean, from 89 to 92, I traveled with the #1 U.S. Olympic team. It's about every big tournament that they went to or every big duel they had. I was there. Like when we fought the Cubans, I was there earlier that year for the '92 pre-trial Olympics. I went out there and fought. For some reason, I lost to the Korean by 2 points, which they didn't count the 2 points that I scored before the end of the round. I never got credit for it. If I would have got credit for it, I would have won, but I didn't get credit for it, so I lost. And it was just, it was just so much. I didn't feel like that if I would have went to the if I would have been an alternate, I don't think that it would have really it wouldn't have really helped me because I was already mad. I was already upset. I felt like they robbed me, and it just would have been, to me, it would have just been a headache going, and it would, to me, it would have been a smack in the face because I already had told them when they was like, "Well, you the alternate, you can go." They talking about, well, it could have been like when I think it was '64 when George Foreman went. I mean, when Joe Frazier went, Ali got hurt or somebody got hurt, and I could take the place. I said, no, that would never happen. I said because of the simple fact, if y'all guys would have let me spar Julian Wheeler and me knowing already that he beat me when he didn't beat me, it wouldn't have been a pretty look in camp because I would have tried to kill him every time I sparred him. So I decided to stay home and not watch the Olympics and turn pro.
Nah, so did you have an idol growing up when you were growing up in boxing during the amateurs, during your Olympic run? Was there a boxer you looked up to?
Well, you know, I'm old school, so around that time, that was, you talking about the early '90s. I was still fascinated with the guys like Hearns, Leonard, Hagler, Mike, Meldrick, you know, but what my biggest my biggest idol, if you talking about me, not really trying to cop their style, but looking at I looked at a lot of Sugar Ray Robinson.
All right.
I was really fascinated with his ability and his skills, and I pretty much thought that Leonard had that too. The same thing that Robinson had. You know, I just thought they was two of the great pure boxers in their era and at their time.
And who guided you along the way during your Olympic amateurs? Was there somebody that you had consistently in your corner that anytime?
My dad.
Your dad. Ah,
Yeah.
so that's good. That's good.
But he never boxed.
Hey man, but he knew the ropes, man. If he obviously can keep you around that long, but you know, it ain't what you know, is who you know, right? OG.
Exactly.
And then your debut, do you remember your debut? Were you nervous?
Yes, I was.
What was that like?
But eventually, I can say, well, of course, I'm from Philly. I had one of my good friends from Atlantic City was Lavander Johnson. His whole family, the whole city, you know, whole Atlantic City state, however you want to say it. We spent a lot of time down there sparring with those guys, and like when we had shows in Philly and tournaments and stuff, they always competed with us. So, you know, I grew accustomed to those guys. We all became family, and you know, so like that was a big blow too when Lavander Johnson got killed. And after the fight, when he died after the fight, I ain't gonna say he got killed. Well, he did take a lot of beating. He did take a pretty bad beating in that fight. And I think a lot of the trauma that he took is what, you know, caused him to pass away. But Lavander was a great guy. I loved his family. So Atlantic City was like my second home. So when I made my debut, my manager got me to fight on a card in Atlantic City. Actually, I had signed with Bobby Goodman, who was I could say co-promoter, right-hand man of Don King. No, I never signed with Don King. I was always with Bobby Goodman. And Bobby Goodman was with Madison Square Garden at the time. Let me see, I'm gonna say I fought for him about 3 times. And then for some reason, his company folded. And the matchmaker name at the time was Carl Moretti, who's top ranks big matchmaker now. I knew Carl since I was like, what? I turned pro at 21. I must have knew Carl since I was like 19, 18. So when they folded, because he was the matchmaker for Bobby Goodman, when everybody was folding and leaving and going their separate ways, Carl Moretti asked Bobby Goodman, could he take me with him? And Bobby said, yeah. So Carl Moretti got the job with Main Events at the time, who signed Pernell Whitaker, Meldrick Taylor, Evander Holyfield, Mark Breland. He asked me, could I go over there with him? And Bobby told him, yeah. And it was all she wrote. I mean, Carl Moretti was and probably still is one of the best matchmakers in the world. He took me up there, got me great fights, man. And we had some really, really great fights along in my career.
And do you remember? Because I gotta ask this for all the OGs. You remember your first big payday and what you spent? What was your first big purchase?
Yeah, my first, well, yeah and no, because it's crazy. My first big, because around the time that I got my big payday, me and my dad had kind of like wandered off from each other. We separated. It was getting kind of bad there. So we didn't we was kind of like at heads there. But what did happen was I did go back to my mom and dad, and I tried to get them to purchase a house, but my mom and dad never wanted to move. So about 6 months after that, I think that's when I went and got my first house. And at the time, which was crazy, because I'm young, dumb, crazy, don't know what's going on, just think money is just anything. My trainer at that time was Bowie Fisher, who trained Bernard Hopkins. And at the time, Bernard Hopkins was like on a standstill. It was hard for him to get fights. People didn't want to fight him. And his trainer, Bowie Fisher, was his head guy. And it was like I said, it was like in a standstill. And he wasn't getting no work. He didn't really have nobody that he really looked up to or he wanted to take up on his wing. But for some reason, when me and my dad had that little spat, my head trainer, which was Odell Cathay, said that he needed somebody in the corner with him that he could gel with, somebody he would listen to, somebody would listen to him. And, Bowie Fisher was that dude. So Bowie was older. He was way older. He was older than my head trainer, Odell. And, Bowie been around. He had Bernard Hopkins. He had Jesse Ferguson. He had Will Stretch Taylor. He had a whole gang of guys, man. So like his wisdom, really helped me to prevail to do the things that I needed to do. Also, I was the type of kid I listened. You know what I'm saying? Even though a lot of times I was like, man, fuck that. But I listened to what Bowie was saying. And I never forget when we signed the contract to fight Gaddy. He had said to me, he was like, look, because we fought Gaddy twice. The first fight was like, they didn't really expect me to beat him. So, they was offering us some small money. So my trainer Bowie was like, look, man, he was like, I got all the confidence in you in the world. He like, I want you to go out here and do exactly what you need to do. And your money, I want you to take your money and put it to the side because you're gonna stack up. There's gonna be bigger and better things for you after this. So I kind of listened, but I was like, how he know what's gonna happen? Yo, it happened. After we fought the first Gaddy fight, they wanted a second one. So we got a second one, and we got a second one. And the second one, I'm not telling you no numbers, but the second one was 4 times bigger than what the first one was. And I'll never forget it. When we signed for the contract and we signed out and we found out how much money we was getting, I was married at the time. My trainer told me to tell my wife to go look for a house. I was like, what? He like, make sure she go get y'all get a house. He was like, because you need something that's gonna help you down the line, something that you're gonna be proud about, and something that you worked hard in doing. Until this day, I still say that Mr. Boy Fisher always planted in my head what was the best thing for me to do. Because I probably would have blew that money doing something crazy.
Mhm.